Scared Stiff Part 5. Jimmy's biggest issue was his temper, and he had a tendency to get jealous very easily. His temper got the best of him whenever he saw any boy talking with Callie in a flirtatious way. Jimmy would tell any boy who talked with Callie they'd better back off from her. The attractive girl would try calming her boyfriend, but sometimes he was just too stubborn and flat out refused to have Callie tell him to calm down. Jimmy had seen his own father treat his mother terribly, and while he loved Callie desperately, he couldn't stop himself from reacting the way he did to any boy, even looking at his girlfriend. Callie had little choice but to ride his behavior out. Her girlfriends were furious that she felt she couldn't do anything else other than take his obsessive behavior. Most of her friends told her she was going to wind up in trouble or worse as long as she stayed with him. Callie knew they were probably right. She hated that Jimmy felt he had to explode every chance he got. She never thought, though, that anything would happen beyond some terrible explosions of temper. Many of her friends figured because the girl had a father in law enforcement that she may have felt instantly protected. There was some truth to what they were thinking, but Callie was a shrewd girl and even knew some boys who had done time but were now released. Callie would not let on to her friends that she had contacts to former prisoners. They may have lost respect for the quiet, unassuming girl. Terry had served time for attempted armed robbery of a gas station a long time after he met Callie in grade school. He often told Callie that he never wanted to go back to jail. Back when they were kids, he was extraordinarily cocky and self-assured. Callie instantly liked him, and the two were fast friends, much to her parents' dismay. When he was sent to jail, Callie was scared for him, but there wasn't much she could do. She often thought of the dark-haired boy who used to get so excited watching crime shows when they were kids. When Callie realized Terry was always getting into trouble, often getting into fights at school and boasting about the crimes he'd commit, she was wary. She honestly didn't think he'd do much else other than talk, something she was clearly wrong about, and was truly worried that he would end up dead. Years after he left for prison, he was released and looking to reconnect with Callie. He was now 19 to Callie's 17, and was looking forward to seeing the one person who actually believed in him. She was the one thought that kept him looking forward to the mornings, and the one thought that kept him warm at night. It didn't much matter that it had been several years since the two had actually seen each other. After junior high, he was promptly sent to prison because of the robbery, something he dearly regretted. He wished he'd never seen the boys, learned to shoot, or anything like that. He'd lost out on high school because of it, and even though his youth record would be sealed, it was still a record, and that would be something that would follow him for most of the rest of his life. Shortly after his return to town, there was a Friday night dance at the school. Terry appeared at Callie's doorstep, hair neatly brushed and clean shirt on, even though he'd been working at the mechanics all day. It wasn't much of a wage, but it was a start, and he was grateful for the opportunity to restart his life. He didn't know if Callie was even ready to see him, but he was hungry to see her. Terry came to Callie's home and was knocking on the door to see if his friend wanted to check out the dance. Luckily, he still remembered where she lived, though after he'd served time, she told him that he'd be better off not remembering where she lived, as her father would be furious if she saw him. Callie looked surprised to see him at first. She'd forgotten how single-minded he could be when told not to do something. It was clear that he'd decided he was going to see her no matter what, and with a sigh, she slid the door shut behind him and smiled, deciding to talk for a few minutes. As they were talking, Jimmy walked by, saw the shy smile on his girlfriend's face, saw the warmth in the boy's gaze, and realized just how close the two were standing together. He could feel his heart surging, his fists clenching as he fought to control his temper. He didn't want to cause a scene. Callie would be devastated if he let his jealousy get the better of him yet again. She was too special to him, this girl, and he didn't want to lose her. The way the two of them were standing together, though, told Jimmy everything he needed to know about Callie. Much as he loved her, and really, because he loved her, he stalked over to her, his face ablaze. Terry saw the flash of fear on Callie's face as she saw something out of her periphery, and he squared his shoulders, not knowing what to expect but knowing for sure that it wasn't good. He turned, trying to keep his expression calm, but it was too late. He was laid flat by a solid right hook from Jimmy. Sprawled on the doorstep as he was, he wiped away the smear of blood from the corner of his mouth and pushed himself up with something between a groan and a growl. Much as he didn't want to end up back on the receiving end of a pair of cuffs, a real possibility, given his previous record, Terry was not going to stand by and take a beating for something he didn't do wrong. He gazed at Jimmy, who was standing in a low fighting stance. The boy wasn't going to let this go, and as Callie stood in front of him, putting her hands on Jimmy's chest as she pleaded with him to calm down, Terry felt furious. She'd told him about Jimmy, and he knew she was in love, but he'd been through too much to let someone he cared about get stuck in a relationship with someone he knew was violent. Callie deserved better.